Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Monday evening, April 1, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future though they're in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we have ridges of high pressure still dominating the entire Atlantic basin. One right here to the north of the Caribbean, and another right there off the west coast of Africa. And we know these are responsible for sending all of those easterly trade winds from Africa across the main development region and across the eastern to the central and western Caribbean, leading into the Gulf of Mexico. We can also see that cold front right there stretching all the way from northern section of North Atlantic all the way down into the northern portions of the main development region, and it has also induced a trough across the region. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with that cold front reaching all the way down to the northern sections of the main development region. We can also see those low-level patches of clouds pushing from east to west, all courtesy of that easterly trade wind brought about by the ridges of high pressure. And some of these low level clouds definitely have some amount of isolated showers within them. We'll be talking more about the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Monday, April 1, 2024. It was stated that we would have received some amount of rainfall across sections of some eastern parishes in Jamaica in the early morning hours. We indeed had that, especially across northern Jamaica. Some of these clouds spilled into those coastal areas. And then southern and western Jamaica would have received some afternoon rainfall. And just for reference, eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey. So, Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. Northern parishes, we're talking about Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. Southern parishes, we're talking about St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland. And what ended up happening? Although a post wasn't made for the morning hours, we definitely saw some clouds bringing isolated showers to sections of St. Thomas, Portland, sections of St. Mary, St. Anne got some of the action as well as Trelawney. Then during the afternoon, we saw a post that was made here on our Twitter page. Keep in mind that these posts aren't only made on our Twitter page, but our Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook page as well. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we make some other posts that are not made here on our YouTube platform. So on our Twitter page at Weather Jamaica, on our Instagram page at weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page at Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page at Weather Jamaica 876. And we saw this post at 3:51 p.m. highlighting the visible satellite images showing clouds bringing overcast skies and isolated showers in sections of mainly southern and western parishes in Jamaica. So definitely sections of St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth especially, not to mention sections of Westmoreland and even sections of Hanover got in on the action. And we even have some of our followers confirming the rainfall. Winston Foster stating southeast St. Elizabeth is getting rainfall now, Junction and surrounding areas. Even on our Instagram page, we had Sharose11 stating raining cats and dogs in the outskirts of Spanish Town. It's Taje22 stating, I was gonna post this, the rain finally reached, how the place did dry in Kingston here. So that indeed confirms the rainfall across those areas. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we see where most of these clouds definitely piled up across sections of some southern parishes. And even while the sun was going down, we still had some clouds across sections of some southern and western parishes in Jamaica. And we can see it all even better on the latest infrared satellite images. Still having those milky grayish clouds across western Jamaica, bring some isolated showers to sections of Hanover, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And we even did see some convection taking place across St. Elizabeth today, where we see those high cold cloud tops represented by those blues and greens, and they were streaking off to the south, all courtesy of that northerly wind shear. We can also see some one or two sparkling white dots that indicate maybe one or two lightning flashes or lightning strikes in that parish as well. If we take a look at the latest Cuban Doppler radar images, we can see that rainfall right there definitely exiting the coast of St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland, as indicated by those greens and those yellows that we know represent light to moderate to even heavy rainfall. If we take a look at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology's accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours, we can see where we indeed had that rainfall definitely across sections of eastern Jamaica, northeastern Jamaica, and sections of some southern and western parishes, just as predicted. If we take a look at the temperatures right now, we can say we have 27 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 3 a.m. on Tuesday, temperature should dip down to about 23 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 21 degrees Celsius in Kingston. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18Z on Tuesday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Tuesday. And we see Jamaica embedded in some yellow and some slight orange colors that represent 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures, as we can see by the key on the right. And we know that average temperatures for the month of April are about the same as 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And when we take a look at the thermometer, 88 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 30 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 30 to 32 degrees Celsius for Jamaica's temperature on Tuesday, April 2. As it relates to the dry air map, we can see that the dry air is represented by the yellows, oranges, and reds by what we see on the key on the bottom. We see the dry air is definitely plaguing the entire Atlantic basin all the way from Africa, across the main development region into the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. But we're indeed grateful that it's not Saharan dust. This map is actually showing the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Tuesday. And we see Jamaica and the Caribbean all in the clear, as all the browns that represent the Saharan dust should be across the southern and eastern main development region. As it relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see that both the Euro and the GFS are showing blues surrounding the island, as we can see by the key on the bottom right. The blues are representative of anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave height, and that's because the winds are going to be coming in from the east, for the most part from the east-southeast. And we can see that some of it is going to be piling up across sections of some western parishes, as we can see those blues. That's where we're going to be having that build-up of afternoon isolated shower activity as usual. And whatever comes off of the sea from the east definitely could affect sections of St. Thomas and or Portland. And if we take a look at the rainfall forecast now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS is showing some amount of blues that represent rainfall affecting sections of St. Thomas and Portland. And this is valid for 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 2 a.m. Jamaica time. Keeping ahead to about 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 9 a.m. Jamaica time. We still see much of the same, some blues plaguing eastern Jamaica, the far eastern end, on both the Euro and the GFS malls. Then finally, by 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time, we start to see more of those blues plaguing inland areas of some eastern and central parishes, so maybe southern St. Mary, southwestern Portland, northern St. Andrew. And look at that, across western Jamaica, just as predicted, sections of southwestern Trelawney, southern St. James, Westmoreland, northern St. Elizabeth. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS malls are in consensus with that afternoon isolated shower activity. Everywhere else in the whites should be getting in on those mainly sunny, maybe partly cloudy skies. And it makes sense that both the Euro and the GFS are showing rainfall, even although it's significantly, drastically different in terms of what both maps are showing. Euro, as usual, is a bit more robust than the GFS, showing up to 0.25 of an inch of rainfall being picked up tomorrow. GFS showing up to 0.08, so not that much either way. Both maps are showing Jamaica shaded in some amount of green, so maybe some isolated showers are definitely in the forecast, just like what the 1 hour total maps were showing first. And we're indeed grateful that we're going to be getting in on some amount of rainfall. We're in the month of April. We are only 1 month away from our secondary rainy season in May. We know our primary rainy season is from September to November, and our peak in October. So we're indeed grateful that we're starting to get in on the increase in rainfall that we usually get during this time of year. Alright, so that is it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have some convective activity taking place across sections of Colombia, Venezuela. Those low-level patches of clouds pushing from east to west with some amount of isolated shower activity within them. Intersection of the Eastern Caribbean. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the Northeastern Caribbean, including Puerto Rico for today, we're going to be starting this off from about 1:10 p.m. actually. And we see those greens that represent light to moderate rainfall coming in from the northeast or from the east-northeast for the most part. We definitely saw some amount of rainfall across sections of Puerto Rico today, the British Virgin Islands as well, sections of St. Kitts, Anguilla, sections of Guadeloupe, and even up to this hour, we still see some amount of greens that represent rainfall across parts of Puerto Rico as well. If we take a look at the Barbados radar, we can see that we indeed have some strong thunderstorm activity off towards the south and the east of the island, all of that pushing towards the south and west. We do see some isolated pockets of showers right there to the north and to the northeast of the island as well. Maybe some of that might make it into Barbados later on tonight, but we know some of that is definitely going to be making it into Martinique and St. Lucia, maybe even spilling into sections of St. Vincent later on tonight into tomorrow. Taking a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see some amount of isolated shower activity to the south and west of the ABC Islands heading into sections of Venezuela, and we do see that thunderstorm activity still taking place across sections of Colombia, like what we just saw on the visible satellite images. If we take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we see that for the most part the Caribbean should be getting in on those grays and slight yellow colors that represent average to slightly above normal temperatures, while elsewhere should be getting in on those oranges and reds. So the Central and Eastern United States, majority of Central America, the Bahamas, Cuba, Haiti, the western half of the Dominican Republic, as well as sections of northeastern South America. Northern South America looks to be average for the most part in terms of the temperatures. As relates to the Sahara and dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Tuesday, we see that majority of the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico should be in the clear, as all the browns that represent the Sahara and dust should be across the southern and eastern main development region. As it relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are showing more so in the way of blues all across the Atlantic basin for the most part, into the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, that is. And we know these blues are representative by what we see on the key on the bottom right of 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights for the most part. Those purples we know represent 2 meter wave heights, and the purples are usually where the winds are going to be strongest. The 25 knot winds as usual in the yellow colors, and the 10 to 20 knot winds in the green colors, coming in from the east northeast across the eastern Caribbean, from the east across the central Caribbean, and from the southeast across the western Caribbean. As relates to the rainfall forecast now, we know the whites and the greys represent little to no rainfall at all, while the greens we start to get in on some amount of slightly measurable rainfall, and we're looking at what both the Euro and the GFS models are showing in terms of what's expected across the Caribbean from now up until 10 p.m. on Tuesday. I'm not saying that it's going to be raining from now all the way up until then, but these are the areas that are going to be picking up rainfall. So we definitely had some amount of rainfall across sections of Trinidad and Tobago today, and they're definitely going to be in for some more. Section of Grenada, St. Vincent, Barbados might get in on the action as well. Not to mention sections of Dominica, Guadeloupe, Anguilla, sections of maybe the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico still to get some more rainfall, Haiti, Jamaica, sections of the Cayman Islands, even sections of eastern Honduras and Nicaragua, not to mention areas across the southern portions of the basin. So eastern Panama, section of Colombia, Venezuela still to get in on some amount of rainfall, not to mention sections of Guyana. I know that when both maps from the Euro and the GFS are in consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.